Hey, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on one of the most powerful and invisible industries in the world, data brokerage. And what are they selling? Well, it's you.
I mean, it sounds like something straight out of a spy movie, doesn't it? But here's the thing. This is not fiction. This is the actual business model for thousands of companies that are operating just out of sight, and they're shaping our lives in ways we're only just beginning to understand.
So, let's step into this invisible marketplace together. We're going to find out who these companies are, what they're actually buying and selling, and how they manage to build a multi-billion-dollar industry all based on information about us. Okay, so what is a data broker? At its core, it's an information merchant. They don't make a product in a factory. Their product is a profile of you. They grab all these little bits and pieces of your data from all over the place. Public records, online tracking, your grocery store loyalty card, and they stitch it all together into this incredibly detailed digital file. And then they sell it.
Now, while there are a ton of smaller, specialized brokers out there, the whole industry is really dominated by just a few giants. You've probably heard of Experian from credit reports, right? Well, they, along with companies like Axiom and LexisNexis, have these massive divisions that do nothing but create and sell our consumer profiles for marketing, for risk assessment, you name it. To get a sense of just how huge this is, just look at this number, 2.5 billion. That's how many consumer profiles a symbol one of these companies, Axiom, claims to have. That's enough for nearly 1 out of every 3 people on the entire planet. It's just staggering.
So what's actually in these profiles? Well, it starts with the basics, your age, your income, but it goes so much deeper. They know where you live, where you work. They track everything you buy, both online and in stores. They watch what you do on social media, and this is where it gets really invasive. They collect and sometimes just guess highly sensitive data. Stuff about your health, your political beliefs, even your religion.
Okay, but what's the real harm here? I mean, who cares if you get a few targeted ads? The problem is this data is being used to make critical decisions that can literally change the course of your life.
For starters, when these enormous databases get hacked, and they do, the fallout is severe. This number, 330 hours, is the average amount of time a victim spends cleaning up after a serious case of identity theft. Think about that. That's over 8 full 40-hour work weeks of your life. Gone, cleaning up a mess that you didn't even make.
But the danger goes way beyond just fraud. Data brokers feed our profiles into these black box algorithms that make automatic decisions. So an algorithm that's supposed to assess financial risk might just end up digitally redlining by using your zip code as a stand-in for your race. Or a hiring tool could screen out perfectly qualified people just because of something they posted on social media. It's a brand new kind of discrimination.
And let's be crystal clear about this. The data held by these brokers can be the deciding factor in whether you get a loan, how much you have to pay for insurance, and whether you even get called for a job interview. It's this invisible hand shaping your entire economic future.
And it's not just big corporations using this stuff. Your own government has become a huge customer. Agencies like Homeland Security, the Department of Defense, and the Department of Justice are spending millions of our tax dollars to buy access to these commercial databases.
Now, this practice has raised some really serious constitutional questions. Critics call it a surveillance loophole. I mean, why go through the hassle of getting a warrant to track someone's location when an agency can just go out and buy a massive data set of location pings from a data broker? It's a way to get vast amounts of our personal information without any of the usual checks and balances.
Okay, I know this all sounds pretty bleak, but the tide might actually be turning. Is the law finally starting to catch up to the technology? Let's take a look at the shifting legal landscape to see if we might be getting a little more control back.
A huge reason for this change has been the insane scale of some of these data breaches. I mean, these companies are like giant treasure chests of our most sensitive info. You remember the Equifax breach in 2017, right? 147 million people. Then look at People Data Labs, an unbelievable 1.2 billion records exposed. When things like that happen, it's impossible to ignore the risk.
So the global response has kind of split into 2 camps. Over in the European Union, they have their GDPR framework, which is opt-in. That means companies need to get your permission first. But here in the US, it's this messy state-by-state patchwork of laws that's mostly opt-out. And what that means is the burden is entirely on you to hunt down every single broker and ask them, pretty please, to stop.
But some states are making big moves. California's new Delete Act could be a total game changer. It's meant to create a single website, a one-stop shop for you to tell all data brokers to delete your info at once. But here's the catch. Real change is slow. The full system isn't even required to be up and running until 2026.
So while we're all waiting for better laws to kick in, what can you do right now, today? In this last section, let's walk through some clear, practical steps you can take to start taking back your data and protecting your privacy.
All right, the most direct way is to go right to the source. You can actually go to the websites of the big players like Axiom and Experian and hunt for their privacy or opt-out pages. You'll have to jump through some hoops, prove you are who you say you are, but this is the absolute first step to getting your name off their lists.
But let me give you a dose of reality here. This is not a one-and-done kind of thing. The process is often designed to be confusing on purpose, and even after you successfully opt out, your data can just reappear later. You really have to be persistent. Think of it less like a single task and more like, digital gardening. You got to keep weeding.
An even better approach is to block the data collection before it even starts. There are some fantastic and free browser extensions that can do this for you. uBlock Origin and Privacy Badger are amazing at blocking all those trackers that follow you around the internet. And using a VPN encrypts your traffic, making it way, way harder for anyone to see what you do.
And you might be surprised where all this data is coming from. Yeah, public social media is a huge one, but so are those store loyalty programs. And those fun little online quizzes, they're not really free. You're paying with your data. Same goes for a lot of free apps. Just being a little more mindful of these everyday things can make a huge difference.
And this brings us to a really important idea. The old argument, well, I've got nothing to hide, it totally misses the point. Privacy isn't about hiding bad things. It's about protecting good things. It's about protecting your freedom, your opportunities, your right to define yourself. It's about having control over your own story. So the real question is, what part of your story are you going to protect?